Joining us now, back from a huge fundraiser last night in Richmond, is Glenn Davis, also to announce the support of a very influential member of the General Assembly. Glenn Davis, coming up the middle lane, he's in this LG race. I've got it right now with everything that's gone on. It's just a three-way dead heat. Who knows who's going to win? It's going to be very close. Davis got in. He was a big underdog. Now he's right there. Hey, Glenn, good to have you with us. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, John. Happy New Year's, and appreciate being on the show again. But you're right. I mean, things have just been tremendous. As we turned into 2017, we had a great event last night. We actually did a Facebook Live as Majority Leader Kirk Cox came out and officially endorsed us. And
that's
this
huge.
race has taken a significant shift over the last few weeks, right before the holidays. And the momentum in our camp's just building. We'll be unloading quite a few endorsements as we go forward. We have some really big ones coming, actually beginning of next week as well.
Look, I just got to tell you that normally endorsements don't matter that much, really. But getting the endorsement of Majority Leader and Speaker in Waiting, good friend of the show's, Kirk Cox from Colonial Heights, is, I think, a big event because he's very well respected. He controls a lot of the agenda that goes on in the General Assembly. And just getting his endorsement shows people, Glenn Davis, you've only been there, right? This is your second term in there, but it shows people that you've earned their respect without a doubt. I thought that was a monumental event.
Well, thank you. And that's what Kirk said last night. You know, I'm 4 years in the General Assembly. I've got one of my opponents with 6 years, one with 9 in the Senate. But what people sometimes forget is not only do I have 4 years in the General Assembly, I've got 5 years in City Council. I've got 2 or 3 years as a legislative aide in Richmond. I've got, oh goodness, I've lost count how many years as an entrepreneur since I was, 18 years since 1999. I've gotten more experience both legislatively and running a business than, honestly, when it comes to, business doing, probably both my opponents combined. So it's that type of experience that I bring to the table, and to have the endorsement of Kirk Cox just speaks volumes.
Look, it's a major event. No question about it. Speaker Howell, do you think he's going to weigh in on this race?
I think he may stay out of it. That's what I'm hearing at the present time. But, who knows? Now with everything shifting, it's, right before the holidays, John, our race shifted significantly. This is no longer me versus my 2 opponents. That race ended. And honestly, we won. Jill started running on the message of, reform justice and the whole legal stuff. It's great for her. She's an attorney. She's an amazing attorney. My other opponent started running on guns and some other issues, and he's a great guy as well. But both of their consultants decided right before the holidays that message doesn't work. The only message that works is Glenn Davis's message. So now they're talking tax reform, and they're talking grow small business, and they're talking entrepreneurs, and so basically this race is now who is the best Glenn Davis. And I would argue you can't beat the original, but that's where their consultants have gone. So it's right now we have a race of me, versus their consultants. Can they make a better Glenn Davis than I am?
Glenn, I've got to ask you this question. I know you don't want to get into this, but I've got to ask it. This email flap that went on last week between Reeves and Vogel, the accusations from one to the other. Somebody sent this email. This is the kind of scurrilous stuff that people hate. Somebody sent this email making what Reeves says is a false accusation on him that has to do with his family and his fidelity to his wife. He blamed Vogel. Vogel and Alex, her husband, vehemently denied it. What do you make of this whole thing?
Well, John, I just got back from Estonia. As you know, I spent 5 days in Estonia trying to bring jobs back to Virginia, and we're getting ready to ship Virginia coal to Estonia in a week and a half for testing to see if we can bring back some manufacturing here. So I was in Estonia until Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve, I went to Memphis, spent some time with my wife's family, got back here New Year's Eve to my family. So honestly, of course, I've heard about the emails. I've heard about the uprising that's happened. You probably have more facts than I do on what may or may not have occurred. But I'll tell you something. I got into this race, and you probably saw my New Year's resolution video. Right now, I'm concentrated on, my faith, my family, and becoming the next lieutenant governor and making Virginia number one again for business and job growth. And honestly, I just don't have time for anything else. I believe that Virginians want someone who's going to keep their head down and bring jobs and really can't care about the rest of the stuff. And that's what we're doing. And I'm not waiting until 2018 to bring jobs. I really think that if this Virginia call tests well in Estonia, we'll start bringing some of these huge opportunities for manufacturing back to Virginia well before they elect me lieutenant governor in 18 or late in 17.
Well, look, there's no question that this whole email thing is a mess for both Reeves and Vogel, so it's opened up the race. I had Vogel as a favorite. Now I just don't know, Glenn. I think it's wide open. I don't know where any of this is headed, but I have to compliment you, Glenn Davis. You have been unbelievably disciplined for a first-time statewide candidate and only 2 winning terms in the State House. I've been very impressed with your discipline in staying on message. As you know, that's not easy to do because you're pulled in all kinds of directions. You've been able to do that, and I think as a result of that, Glenn, you're moving the needle.
Oh, thank you. And John, it comes with being an entrepreneur. Everyone said, entrepreneurs are out of the box and they multitask a lot, and we do. But the only way entrepreneurs are successful with all this multitasking and thinking outside the box is we're very disciplined and very focused. And that's what I bring to the table here. My focus is to become the next lieutenant governor by showing people before I get elected that I can bring jobs and grow our economy and make us number one for business and job growth. And after I'm elected, my focus is going to be laser sharp on making sure I deliver on those promises. It's like Donald Trump. You see him now. He made promises, and he's laser focused on bringing it home before he even takes office. That's how I'm built.
How do you win this race, Glenn?
By doing what I've been doing, John. I'd argue that we're already winning this race. There was a poll put out. 2 of my friends got it right before the holidays. It was a rather pricey live poll. And I think we know which campaign threw it out there. Those results haven't been released. So I'd argue that if someone runs a pricey poll and they decide not to go out and release those results, they don't like the outcome. So we win this race by doing what we've been doing, which is staying focused on our message of growing jobs. And honestly, John, I would ask, how do we win the general? And I'll tell you, we don't win the general by having 2 people on the ticket from Northern Virginia. There will be a backlash in the business community, probably not only from Hampton Roads, who we have a Democrat gubernatorial candidate down there already, and also from Southwest Virginia. They want diversity in their ticket. So we get diversity in the ticket by having regional diversity as well as experience diversity. And I'm the only entrepreneur in the race. I'm the only one that knows how to bring jobs. And heck, John, I'm the only one that's actually carried a job and a tax bill in the last 3 years, absent some procurement bill one of my opponents had.
All right, let's get to your trip to Estonia. Your number one takeaway coming back on the plane, what was it?
Take thicker coats next time. No, seriously, John, that the Republican Party has it right. That if you get rid of government regulations, you will allow entrepreneurism and innovation to thrive. There was a time when if you were an innovator, and it didn't matter what country you were from, if you were an innovator, you wanted to be in the United States and innovate here because of the opportunity. You look at the automobile, you look at, all the different innovations that have happened over the course of, centuries. People actually came here who had that entrepreneurial mindset and that were innovators. Now that doesn't happen. And you go to a country like Estonia, and you ask kids what they want to be. They want to be the next inventor of the next Skype inventor. They want to be an entrepreneur, and that's what that country really is. And it's because once they came out from underneath the thumb of Russia, of the USSR, all of a sudden they had this freedom and allowed them to thrive. And the government took a hands-off policy. I'd argue in many ways they're probably as capitalistic, in some cases more so, than what we are. Their regulations, their business regulations, all have to be complied upon online. So if there's regulations that a government wants to put into effect, you have to be able to adhere to them online. And their taxes, for example, they literally file their end-of-the-year taxes in 5 minutes online. There is no IRS. There is no go hire an accountant to go do all this mess, and 3 weeks later or 2 months later, it's 5 minutes online. It's those types of things that breed innovation, breed entrepreneurs, and so it's a great proving ground for our creed and our policies to say this does work. We just need to start practicing them again.
Well, that would be a good idea to start practicing the same things. I'm impressed that you went to Estonia, try to figure out what's going on there, get a feel of how they've been successful in being, I guess now, right, the number one country as far as IT and tech development. They also have the number 3 rated educational system in the world, behind, memory serving me here, I'm going to say Singapore and Japan.
They do.
I'm not sure about that. I have to go on the stuff from memory. But all right, so look, General Assembly convening in a few days. What is the Glenn Davis agenda quickly?
Well, honestly, it's what my opponents are probably going to do. I'm going to continue being me. I've been putting in tax reform bills and bills to help small businesses ever since I was elected in 2014, and actually going back to my time on council. It's why the Chamber of Commerce named me the best, the number one and our freshman legislator of the year back in 2014. And I've been carrying legislation to continue helping our economy and those businesses ever since. I'm going to continue doing that and keep an eye out to see how well my opponents can spell tax reform. I understand they're going to try to start looking like they care about tax reform and business stuff now, and we'll keep an eye on things. But, we're focused. I know that we can start making Virginia number one again now. I've talked to Terry Kilgore last week. We'll be shipping Virginia coal over to Estonia for testing within the next week or so. So I know we can start doing things now to start changing the opportunities for people in Virginia. So I'm going to multitask this session and start doing things to help make Virginians' lives better at this outside of the General Assembly building, as well as pushing forward legislation this year and getting rid of regulations that helps Virginians and Virginia companies here continue to grow, thrive, and create jobs.
I tell you what, Glenn Davis, you've got a very focused agenda. We look forward to following what you do in this coming General Assembly. Now, everybody in your race is in the same boat, starting whatever day it is, Monday or Tuesday. You can't do any fundraisers. You can't fundraise. It's really tough to get out and campaign because you're in there Monday to Friday, 15, 16 hours a day. It's a short session. But your two opponents are in the same boat, so everything is kind of on hold now, right?
Well, not really, John. I can't fundraise, but my race, look, you spend the majority of your money in this race after March anyway. Everyone puts so much focus on fundraising going back to, April. My focus has been on showing Virginians that I can deliver jobs, grow the economy, and that I really do have a background and a resume that shows that I can get the job done. My opponent started out by going out there and raising money, and I'd argue that it's been proven that they went the wrong route from the beginning. Maybe they needed it. I don't know. We've had enough money to basically lead in this race, whether it was some of the fundraising I did later on or some of the self-funded stuff. I'm not worried about fundraising during session. I don't need to go that route. We have some huge stuff that we'll be announcing right at the end of the session. You can imagine, I'm working with Terry Kilgore, Tom Davis, now in Richmond with the support that we've got out there. You can imagine the fundraisers on the horizon. I'm right now still working on starting to change Virginians' lives because I believe if you do that, you get to grassroots, and the grassroots is where you win the election. So that's our focus, and I don't have to stop that during the General Assembly session.
All right. Well, you've got the best website. There's no question about that. For more information, you can find him. Go to davis4forlg.com. And if website analysis was rated, you would be the big winner in this. You got a very interactive site. davis4lg.com. Hey, Glenn, thanks for being with us, man.
Thank you, John. Thanks for having me.